Hey guys, my name is Matteo, and today I want to ask the question, where are all the hipfire weapons in Battlefield 4? I bring this up because recently I've been playing a lot of Battlefield 3. I don't know why, I've just been really enjoying that game right now. And one of the things I've noticed is that while in Battlefield 4 there are a few PDW, or a vast majority of the PDWs have a decent hipfire, if you want to hipfire people down, it is possible, but it is nowhere near the godlike status that we have with a few of the weapons in Battlefield 3. The MP7 P90 and the M5K are ridiculous in Battlefield 3, and simply because they just have amazing hipfire accuracy. If you're good enough and you know what you're doing with some of these guns, you can potentially consistently go for headshots. I mean, I was running around with the P90 on TDM no-char canals, and I would see an enemy a fair distance away, know that I was low on health and I needed to land some headshots on him to get the victory, to come out of the firefight alive, and I was able to consistently land headshots back to back, even while hipfiring. They're incredibly fun to use. Some of you might be thinking, wait a second, maybe the reason why we don't have some of these guns in Battlefield 4 is that this sounds a little bit overpowered. If you're able to hipfire and go for headshots and have this pinpoint-like accuracy, well then what's the point of having all the other guns in the game? Why wouldn't everyone just want to use those? Well, they were amazing, like don't get me wrong, but I would not say that they were the top tier guns. If you've ever played Battlefield 3 for just a couple of hours, you would quickly realize that the M16A3, the M416, and even something like the AEK were the higher tier weapons. If you wanted to be competitive, those were the guns that you would gravitate towards. And then all of the others, and especially these hipfire guns, were definitely competitive, like you could still do very well, but they weren't flat out overpowered, and especially the hipfire guns like the P90, they added a gameplay experience. They had you think about combat differently than all of the other weapons in the game, and we don't really have that in Battlefield 4. And so I guess the point that I'm trying to get across is that if there's ever new weapons on the horizon, maybe DICE will surprise us with a new weapons crate DLC. I'd be a little surprised by that because we're so long in development, but they've surprised us in the past. Or if they go through to balance out the PDWs a little bit more. Let's be honest, the PDWs are still pretty weak compared to all of the other weapons in the game, especially the carbines when you're playing as the engineer. It would be nice if they maybe had some guns that were primarily designed around just hip-firing your enemy down. Don't get me wrong, I realize that it is possible to do this in Battlefield 4. Like, hopefully today's video has illustrated that. You run around with the P90, if you want to, you can still do well by just hip-firing people down. But at least when I bounce between the two games, it doesn't seem to be as accurate. There seems to be a hell of a lot more bullet spread, and it doesn't seem to be as consistent as its Battlefield 3 counterpart. Maybe it's all in my head. Maybe I have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about, which is a distinct possibility. They're the same stats between the two titles, but I can swear, bouncing between them, I am way more comfortable with those particular weapons, and then when I bounce over into Battlefield 4, while I realize that they're not going to be completely identical, at least according to their hipfire, they don't seem to be nearly as consistent. Another reason why I bring this up is that DICE has made it abundantly clear that if they're ever going to bring in more weapons into Battlefield 4, they want to make sure that they're unique and distinctive from all the others, and they provide a different playstyle. A lot of people, when they heard that there was going to be new weapons, 5 new weapons, many people were crossing their fingers for something like the G3A3 assault rifle or the M16A3. The M16A3 was a fan favorite back in Battlefield 3. The G3A3 is a very iconic gun. And so when people learned that we were gonna get these Grozas, while people were still excited because it's new weapons to play with, they were also a little disappointed. DICE's reason behind this is that the G3A3 is pretty much the Scar H assault rifle. They would bring it in, it would basically just be a reskin of the G3A3 with slightly different stats. Same playstyle, same way that you would use it, but it would just be a weapon skin. Same thing with the M16A3. We have a lot of guns that mirror that type of playstyle that we had back in Battlefield 3, and so that's the reason why we got the guns that we did with the Weapons Crate DLC. The Grozas are bullpup, the A94 is burst fire, don't really have a lot of burst fire weapons. The Mare's Leg, even though they butchered it, they nerfed it into the ground, that is a very unique pistol, and so this kind of fits that same theme with hipfire weapons, and why I think that this could be a really cool way of adding in a unique gameplay, and also fits the same mindset that DICE really would want to bring something unique and different to all of the other weapons in the game. And then lastly, my final reason why I would love to have this is that it might just be the one thing that elevates some of these PDWs to the status that they're finally viable. The PDWs have had a hard time in this game. We all know it. If you're playing as the engineer, a lot of people will just opt to use the carbines because for the most part, they have around the same rounds per minute. They don't drop off in damage nearly as quickly as the PDWs. And for the most part, they're just all around better weapons for more situations. Because if you're playing as the engineer, you're gonna want something that does more damage at a distance. The carbines are just a better pick compared to the personal defense weapons. And so it'd be nice if we had something like this increase in hipfire accuracy to maybe make some of these PDWs a little bit more appealing. I don't think it would all of a sudden make them overpowered. I don't think it would go that far, but it might be the thing that not only just makes them fun to use, makes them very distinctive, but also elevates their power so that people will finally start to use a few more of these things on the battlefield. But I'd like to know what you guys think about this. Do you agree with me? Do you think that that would add in some fun, unique playstyles that we don't really have right now in Battlefield 4? Or do you think I'm just crazy and you think that's the worst idea ever and you would hate if DICE added any more development time trying to pursue something like that? Let me know down below. But yep, that's about it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed, and so until tomorrow, guys, have a good one and take it easy.